Hello everyone, my name is Dr. Joel Rosen and I want to welcome you back to another edition of Your Adrenal Fix. It's been a while since I've last done this, but it's 2016 and my goal is to try to help educate 1 million adrenal fatigue sufferers so that they can enjoy the life that they deserve. So today I'm standing in front of my pathway planner and I don't expect you to see it very well because it's very small and I'm working on the technology to bring better videos to you. But in the meantime, I want you to grasp the concept. So I want to talk to you about energy production. And really, if you have adrenal fatigue and you have energy issues, you don't sleep very well, you get up in the morning and you just want to stay in bed, you don't spring out of bed like a champion and are ready to take on the day, probably not very, very hungry in the morning, if anything nauseous, forcing yourself to eat if you do eat, or having sugary foods or caffeine just to get that 2 cups of energy in your body, and then by about midday you crash and you may be done for the rest of the day. Or your clock is backwards, where you have no energy in the morning and then you have a lot of energy at night. Or you have energy and then it goes down and it goes up and it goes down and it goes up. So there's all different ways that your energy patterns may be disruptive. And one of the great things that we can do is a urine test to figure that out. And I'm starting to work with urine testing for cortisol levels. We'll get into that in another video. But for the purpose of this video, I wanted to talk to you about energy production from the cellular level. And a lot of people are asking me, what is SAMe? And I did a post about it the other day. And SAMe, if you can't really see it on here, I'm just going to circle, is right here. That's what SAMe. It's a big, long, fancy word that I actually would have to look up to be able to pronounce. So we use a shortened form called SAMe. And SAMe, besides ATP, is the second most abundant energy source in the body. So ATP, we all understand, it's like the gasoline for the car, it's the energy for the body. We eat sugar or we eat carbs or we eat food, it gets broken down into glucose, and glucose eventually makes ATP with all the cellular activity that you may remember from grade 12 science. So anyways, what happens is SAMe, it's the biggest methyl donor in the body. Methyl donor being a CH3 group. Now don't worry so much about that, but worry about the fact that if you don't have a lot of SAMe, you're not donating a lot of methyl groups. And if you're not donating a lot of methyl groups, you may have brain fog, you may have fatigue, you may have upset, your neurotransmitters aren't working well, you may have an autoimmunity, you're not able to settle down inflammation. And so we'll get into another pathway which has to do with the stress mechanism, which is something called IDO. And IDO is a really, really interesting kynurenine pathway. We'll talk about that with you as well. But basically what I wanted to explain to you is this pathway all rests on you getting enough folate. So one of the takeaway lessons I want you to learn from this is if you are eating enriched white breads or enriched wheat or enriched anything, look at your protein bars or look at your wrappers and see if there's folic acid. If there's folic, F-O-L-I-C, you want to get that out of your diet because it is binding to receptors and it's not doing you any good, and it's taking the place of folate. And folate is folic acid with a CH3 group on it. And that's called a methyl group. And our entire body is designed to methylate. And if we're not methylating, we have more than likely an adrenal fatigue problem. So number one is start with eating green leafy vegetables. Uncooked has the most folate in it. However, if it's cooked, it's just going to be reduced a little bit in terms of not as much folate in there. So rule number one, reduce as much folic acid as you can. Look at your supplements and see if it says folic and get it out of there. And get more leafy green vegetables into your diet. Because ultimately, we want to make methylfolate. And if you see here, SAM is an important inhibitor of that. And that's another lesson. Then we come up over here, and methylfolate marries with methylcobalamin, which is B12, with a methyl group on it. So we're always trying to methylate. And when B12 and methylfolate meet, they come and make methionine. I know I'm losing you here, but I'm trying to explain it as much as I can in terms of easy processes. So where do we get our B12 source from? From good meat, good grass-fed beef. A lot of vegetarians may have a difficulty time getting their B12, but it's very, very important that you're getting a good B12 source and you're getting a good folated source, and hopefully you're getting it from your food that you're eating. When you do that, then you're making methionine. And methionine is one step away from SAMe. So here is the take-home lesson. If you're suffering with energy problems, there's a good likelihood that you're dealing with adrenal stress. On top of that, you may have a lot of epigenetic factors like a job or a boss or a spouse or a child or a finance or an infection, and all of these things are causing these pathways to spin quicker. And if you don't have the raw materials like folate or B12 or magnesium or zinc or riboflavin or whatever it may be, you're going to get stuck in this pathway and you're not going to make a lot of SAMe. And because I just explained to you, SAMe is the biggest donor of methyl groups in the body. If you're not making SAMe, then you're going to have muscle fatigue, your cell membranes aren't going to be working well, you're not going to be detoxifying the liver, you may not be making glutathione, which is the best antioxidant in the body, you're probably not making neurotransmitters effectively, so depression, anxiety, irritability, loneliness, tiredness, you're not being able to make serotonin into melatonin, and so it all hinges on SAMe. So what I want you to do is just try to watch this video several times, get the concept of it, and realize that A, your lifestyle has a lot to do with it, what you eat, how you stress, and how you absorb your nutrients, and then B, potentially using some nutrients like a methylfolate or a methyl B12 or a multimineral or a methionine or a SAMe. All of those things will be helpful, but you really want to identify where you're going wrong in the pathway so that you can hone in on the specific problem and get better and feel better. So I hope you enjoyed this lesson. It's really difficult topics. I'm going to try to bring more and more information about methylation, about genetic testing, about stress, about chiurenin pathways, about neurotransmitters, about glutathione and detoxification and heavy metals. Hopefully you liked this video. If you did, please give me a thumbs up or a share, or also try going to my website at adrenalfatiguesociety.com, and I look forward to helping you in your adrenal fatigue recovery. Thank you so much.